Honorable, I'd want to ask you, like, how do you think the institutions are preparing for you guys to have a safer elections? Because I know you'll still be running for MP or something bigger, we are waiting. Yeah. But how do you think that you guys are, like, preparing more like an institution for the upcoming elections in 2027?
As parliament or as parties?
As parties.
As parties.
Yes.
We are preparing. Maybe I will speak for my party. We are preparing. We've started by strengthening our grassroots, popularizing the party, and encouraging more aspirants, more women, both genders to come up and vie. You remember just last month, early this month, our party leader held the meetings with all the aspirants in the UDA party. So we've already begun. It's a means to identify, possible candidates who will vie for various positions. So that is one of the approaches. Also, our party is looking at also capacity building. Our aspirants, our candidates, and also making sure they have the security. They have, of course, for members, we have our security. But I know as we get into the elections, we will be asking the party to provide us more security or to enhance our security. And also, government has other institutions that are preparing in terms of the next general elections. The National Cohesion and Integration Commission already is focusing on peace campaigns, advocating for peace campaigns. They're also identifying hotspots, those election violence-prone areas, and working in partnership with other government institutions like Ministry of Interior to make sure they are alert on such areas. They are also monitoring online harassment. That is part of preparations towards the next general elections.
And do they protect you from you guys facing violence and intimidation, like during the nominations? Because you see now, let's assume you are going against a former MP or a current MP who's a man, but you've come out so strong, and they're like, Mary akipata hii kiti, teso kutabadilika. But what about the violence and intimidation that is usually like during the nomination phase? So as you're aligning yourself, is that covered like within your party? So that as a woman, if I say I want to join UDA or ODM today, and I want to vie or contest against a man in my region, am I protected from the violence and intimidation that you'll start getting in the unambondokea hii iko na mwenyewe? But it's supposed to be a fair playing field for boy. Because mwenye anapata kiti ya nominations ndio sasa tutampata kwa debe.
We have a disciplinary committee. There are disciplinary mechanisms within the party. But I would say they may not be as effective. With politics, it is for the fittest. Wanasemanga kesi baadaye. If it is for those who can be able to wale wanaweza kupenya yani. If you have the guts, you can be able to use whichever means to make sure you are nominated. If there is anyone with a complaint, let them report to the disciplinary committee. It will be looked at after. Or you can be told you can go to court. But by that time, already somebody else has already been given a certificate. Especially if it is the final elections. You going to complain, the case may take 2-3 years. Somebody's already been sworn in and is serving. And that case can be ruled either way. There are no guarantees, knowing the justice system that we have in this country. So there are still challenges. We have mechanisms, we have systems, even within the parties. But there are still challenges. You may report and not necessarily get justice. Yes. We can't also rule out corruption. It is there, even in these party structures and systems. So it's still a challenge, that's what I can tell you.
I get you, ma'am. Thank you for that. Diana, you can just jump in on this. Like, how can women voters demand issue-based politics rather than personality-driven campaigns.
I'll pick it from where you actually spoke, because you sort of highlighted it, and you said when you're looking at what Mhesh is bringing on the table, and Mhesh is saying, and we'll use Mhesh Mary for example, because she's here with us now. And we've said, Mhesh akiwa kwa ground, this is what she's provided for women. This is what she's saying. And it's not just women. And I think then the beauty of a woman is that she just doesn't look at women alone. She looks at the community. And she will come in and say, then in my tenure, this is what I commit to do. This is what I will do. And we are moving away from Mhesh coming in, looking all vibrant and all, but we're actually listening to what she's saying and what she's committing. Yes. And then we also sit with ourselves. And I think it's a transition we are slowly seeing within the Kenyan populace, where we are seeing people are saying, you leteni pesa, tutakula pesa yenu, but we will vote for the person we want. Because you've identified, yes, there are people who are forward thinking. There are people who actually carry the community at heart. And there are people who we know for sure. We have seen them in the community. I'm assuming Mhesh, before we guys knew Mhesh, people in Teso knew Mhesh. And they are the ones who voted and said, you know what, we believe in her, in what she's committing to do. Yes. So that exists. Because even when we then come to issues of accountability, it is not me who is going to start holding Mhesh accountable. It is the people in Teso who will come and say, you know what, you promised this. We left that flamboyant looking person, but we chose you because of the dreams you had for our community, and this is why we chose you. So I think slowly, the movement in itself is changing. The Kenyan people are changing in that regard. And we are now moving to issues. We are like, okay, so now children haven't gone to school. There are schools that have been closed for I don't know how long. In my community, children walk I don't know how many kilometers to go to school. Why? So it's those small things that now start resonating with people, and people come in and say, you know what? Okay, now I see where we are going with this leadership. I saw a joke, someone saying, even that person whose campaign is going to vote for this other person. So for sure, people are, there's that shift in mindset, but then there's also that appreciation of women leadership and women coming onto the table and saying, you know what? Yes, then this can happen. Yeah.
As we wrap up, I'd like to give you a minute, Mhesh, and also Diana.
I just wanted to add on to the topic on like we were speaking about civic education. On the same issue, there's need for civic education so that the electorate understands that how do you put this leader to account? When these leaders are campaigning, this leader should be able to speak to policy, speak to the issues that affect them. How is he going to improve on agriculture, on health, on education, on the challenges that they face? They should elect a leader based on their manifesto as opposed to rhetoric talk and maybe using money to hoodwink you, so that they are very clear on what should they be looking for in a leader that they intend to elect. Because it's one thing to elect the leader, but what is the impact? And even when we're looking for numbers, we're saying we need to get more women elected. But how involved are these women? How do they influence policy, budgets, decision-making? How many of these women are appointed or elected to chair committees, for example, in the National Assembly or County Assembly? Because that is where decisions are made. It's not just about the numbers. Are the parties giving these women priority or slots in terms of even leadership and other critical decision-making positions, so that then women can look, if you are in that committee, like in the budget committee, we were about 3 or 4 women in a committee of 25. So when it comes to gender-responsive budgeting, where we want to speak about sanitary towels, where we want to speak about water, because the woman and the child were going to suffer. Can our voice be heard? Are our numbers sufficient enough for our voice to be heard, for us to be able to influence a certain decision that can result to positive impact? So I think also that is critical And we need that awareness at the grassroots. We need to speak to political parties because they have the key to unlock a lot of these challenges.
Makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Diana, your parting shot?
I think one of the things that we are continuously seeing, even when you're talking about democracy and what democracy is the full participation of women. And for me, that would be the thing that I am looking forward to 2027. I am looking forward to increased numbers, and it's not just increased numbers, it's also the quality of women that we are seeing. It's women who are able to sit in a committee, 3 women, and pull a committee to task and say, but why? In terms of, asking those why questions, but why? In terms of representation, where are we? In terms of issues, Mhesh can be 3 in that committee, but they're the ones who are dominating that committee. Yes, so for me, it's just strengthening women's voices. But then I would switch to slightly to a question you had asked earlier in terms of preparation. And one of the things that over time civil society and even just the community at large has been doing is doing all these things we are calling early warning, and we are just trying to start getting the environment and these hotspots. And one of the things that has shifted now is the original hotspots are no longer the original hotspots. We now have other hotspots are coming up. And another hotspot that we have is the digital space. Now attacks are happening online. So you come from, I don't know which village, but you're being slandered online and you're wondering, you've never encountered any of these people. So for me, then that also is important. And I think even as we're talking about agencies and institutions that are brought into this table, then the data protection people also need to be on this table, because then we are saying we are having someone who's vying, someone who has wonderful policies, wonderful ideas, but you then tell yourself, how am I going to discredit this woman? I am just going to online smear her and just do all these things to discredit her, yet it is uncalled for. So for me then, even if as we're starting to look at institutions that then guide the election process, IBC is not just IBC, there are a lot of other pockets of institutions that will ensure, if we're talking about a credible elections, that we indeed have delivered a credible election.
That is very true. And as you're summarizing, I'd want you also to touch in on the policies around AI, around cybersecurity in your summary, because those are also things that are coming up right now. And as she's saying, it's very easy for you to get a smear campaign online. Just because mtu akupendi and there's just decided they'll go on the socials to just discredit you. So probably can speak a little bit on that on your summary as we wind up.
Actually, what I can tell you, when I decided to join politics, and then maybe a few months down the line, most of my friends were asking me, Mary, why did you decide to join politics? Mary, have you looked at Facebook? Have you looked at social media, what people are saying about you? I told them, I don't care. That's a decision I made. I have developed a thick skin because there are a lot of things. And I tell some people who, the people who read social media and they think it is the plain truth. And I told them, don't believe anything you see on social media, because 95% of it is mere smearing and, it is propaganda. So it is true. A lot of female aspirants especially go through a lot of social media bullying, a lot of propaganda, a lot of, unpalatable things said about you. And that is why Parliament passed a cybersecurity law that seeks to criminalize some of this, smear propaganda on social media, and your name being tarnished, and your reputation put to question. So that we have some discipline in this space, in the digital space. And deter some busybodies or those doing business just to keep busy on social media. So in conclusion, for me, I want to say that as we prepare to celebrate the International Women's Day, let it not just be business as usual. Let it not be just a celebration. We need to move away from rhetoric, talking, to action. And I mean, if we're talking about addressing Gender-based violence, for example. Let's look at all institutions that are dealing with gender-based violence. Let us act by giving them money, sufficient funding to be able to do that. If we are championing, there are also civil society, faith organizations, and non-government organizations that are fighting against some of these vices, FGM. Even as leaders, we need to stand out and be counted and stand in solidarity with such institutions. So that together, it's not just about government. Government, all those institutions, Kenya National Commission for Human Rights, all of them, GEC, we need to work together to fight against these vices in society, gender-based violence. Let's put resources where necessary. And also Parliament, we need to relook at all the laws. I know we have very progressive laws and the Constitution as well. But we needed to relook and see where are gaps, which are the gray areas, amend to strengthen enforcement so that together we can really fight against some of these vices and ensure that there's gender equality.